All right, we are back here talking U.S. Open golf on the podcast. Joining me today, our favorite PGA Tour professional, Dan DeMartini, is here. Dan, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. Glad to be back. Another major's here, so happy to talk some golf with you.
I have to say, in terms of the golf world, as a casual like myself, I feel like there's been so much happening in the golf world outside the majors. I've actually been able to pay attention to some of these big storylines. So you want to start with some of this stuff?
Sure. I mean, rapid fire. I mean, even the casual sport fan has probably been seeing some headlines lately, so happy to go through them.
All right, let's start with the big one. John Rahm getting pulled from Memorial because he tested positive for COVID on the course. Obviously, brutal for him. Cost him in the lead by 6 strokes. Cost himself $1.4 million. Right, he would have won. I think he wins that tournament pretty easily. I think you would agree with that. Just talk a little about how crazy that was.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy thing, especially working kind of in the testing realm for the PGA Tour, which is part of my responsibilities. I was not at Muirfield Village. I was kind of having an off week in terms of some responsibilities, but and I kind of deal with more of the families than the players themselves. But um, it was definitely a tough go. And a lot of mixed opinions online of whether or not he should have been removed from the field or this or that. But at the end of the day, the PGA Tour statement that was put out was extremely accurate, and it is what it is. I mean, there was a concern that potentially he had been in contact with somebody that was diagnosed with COVID-19, so there was a risk. He felt fine, no symptoms, but at the same time, like enough where we had to do the test. As soon as it came back, it was looked at. It was tested then again to make sure that it was valid as a positive result for COVID-19, and it came back that way. So as soon as those results came through, they went and grabbed him and told him we got to leave. So all the players since we've started, if you look at the percentage of the amount of players who have tested positive and had to been removed from competition, it is a minuscule amount compared to how many tests, how many people who have gone out now and been vaccinated. I mean, the amount of players that participate every week, the only reason that this has come up is because he was in the lead and it was a big. And, that circumstance of think about how many tournaments we've run since COVID broke out. I mean, we've been back playing golf, full competitions, really since the end of last May. So, the PGA Tour, not to, drink from the own Kool-Aid here, but, I think we've done an amazing job getting to this point. And John knew the risk. All the players know the risk. It was agreed upon by the player council that basically if you come, you are at risk to be removed from competition if you test positive within our testing protocols. So it's unfortunate, but that's why John didn't come out and he wasn't like, oh, they pulled me out. No, he knew what he was walking into, that if you got it, you were exposed to it, there was a risk that this could happen. So it's just really sad. It's just a shame because, he deserved to win. I don't think that that's saying anything inappropriate. I mean, he was leading the tournament. He was playing great. And I think that though it's a real learning experience for a lot of other people. And it makes them think, okay, I got to be a little more protective maybe of my bubble if I feel like I got a real chance, to be competitive this week on tour. So, definitely sent some shockwaves across the player front.
Yeah, I believe I saw that. I think it was like it's 4 positive tests total that had people pulled from the tournaments, which is actually pretty impressive considering how many golfers play in these fields. And I will say also, as far as
It's over 130 in most weeks, and those are all the people coming through, and that's almost every. Think about how many tests that is for how many we've had over 50 events. So anyway,
yeah,
that's just my spiel.
yeah, I'll have a spiel quick too. I know you're not going to say anything because you're officially working for the tour, so you can't really say stuff. But my point is like, and you think about John Rahn's experience, and it's tough break for him lives losing the tournament that way. And it's something if I'm on a tour and I have not gotten my shot yet, I'd be thinking, maybe I should get one. But I'm going to put that out there. I'm not going to make you comment on that. I'm just going to say that's my personal spiel. But
it's a fair viewpoint, Mike.
Yeah, it's something I would consider, considering it could cost myself $1.4 million. That's something I would think strongly about.
Something to think about.
Something to think about. Something else I want to explain to me because I've seen this on the periphery. Don't really understand this. Can you tell me what exactly this feud is between Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, I tend to be on the side of Commissioner Monahan, in terms of, obviously, some people feel as though that, any press, good press for golf, the healthy competition, not everybody should be just best buds out there. And, it's good to have kind of rivals, this and that. But once again, these headlines really are taken away from the fact of that we've been back out doing amazing things, supporting charities, getting, working with our sponsors to keep the validity and the greatness of the events going, and still being able to make contributions and doing great things. But at the end of the day, from a pure interest in the sport standpoint, Brooks and Bryson not necessarily liking each other has definitely brought in, a lot of I guess at least really invigorated the golf world. It's cool to see at least people kind of either picking a side or, making a statement that they think may be behind it all. But in short, it sounds like, the two of them have had some of the issues that have come up. We don't want to take a side here on either one, but there's been some slow play, concerns. There's been some conversations about, technique and training methods and things like that have come up between the two. And, I think that there's been just a healthy rivalry. Brooks is a big, strong young guy. Bryson's a big, strong young guy. They're both winning, big time events. They both are alpha males. So at some point when you've got an alpha here and an alpha here, and one does it this way and one does it this way, and then eventually they're going to be compared against each other, it's a pot that's heading towards an overflow and a boil, right? So I just think that it's, really cool to see. Everybody saw the video that came out that was leaked, of Brooks obviously seeing Bryson come at him and do the eye roll. And, you have to wonder how many other, feuds there may be out there. That one just unfortunately did get leaked out, but it's been budding. I mean, there's plenty of articles. I won't go into comment on it, but if you type in Brooks Bryson feud, into Google, you can see some interesting articles, of other little tidbits that maybe show you why this has gotten to this point. I don't really care about the off the course stuff as much as seeing more of the on course stuff. I would love to see them, kind of in a final pairing, feel that tension of two people who aren't best buddies, that aren't going to be waiting for each other after the final round to give them a high five. So I personally, I think it is fun.
Yeah, I think personally, I know that these guys have won a lot. I mean, obviously, I think they combined between them won the last 3 U.S. Opens. So if I was the USGA, I would be very tempted for my T range to say, what, put them together the first 2 rounds. What happens?
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I think that everybody's expecting it. So
yeah. And speaking of the U.S. Opens, where we're going this year, we're going to Torrey Pines. Last played there in 2008 was the memorable Tiger winning on one knee tournament. So what can you tell you about this course?
Well, yeah, and folks that watch a lot that are PGA Tour kind of lifers or hardcore fans, know this is where we also play the Farmers Insurance Open. That event is played over the North Course and the South Course at Torrey Pines. This is just on the South Course, so that's kind of important to know. Kind of just some of the big factors about Torrey Pines for people that aren't that familiar. Let me even back it up before even the course. It's the U.S. Open, right? The USGA loves to make the course difficult. This is not an event where it's going to be like, the winner's going to be 22 under par. It's not going to happen. They pride themselves on being able really difficult pin positions, really difficult course conditions. I don't know if anybody saw like Xander Schauffele's Twitter this week. He did a thing where he was standing, it was last week, where he was doing a practice round out there. And he literally like kind of had his ball dropped in the rough behind the 18th green. And like, you could barely see his ankles. Like his feet were that low, the rough that high, that thick, like the ball just like disappears. So you can get yourself into some really difficult conditions, but those are US Open conditions. Historically, if you're 4 under, you got a chance to win at the US Open. So very different from, obviously what we had at Palmetto and some of the other tournaments recently where guys were in the, mid-teens. And, but I think it's also a fun challenge. Guys know what you're getting into. You're going to win a major championship. Torrey Pines is one of those courses where driving distance on the PGA Tour always matters, right? Like the guys that hit the furthest, statistically have the best chance to score. This course, if you're just off, I was actually, believe it or not, I was talking to my dad before this, and he's played the course. So I got a little bit more insider knowledge. He said to me, he goes, Dan, if you're just off the fairway, you're going to be okay. But if you're not hitting that drive, you can hit it far. But if you're having a tough day, keeping it within maybe 20 yards of the middle of the fairway, kind of going in and out, you're going to get in some really tricky spots. The course is set up in a way where, it's going to be beautiful weather. The wind really shouldn't be that much of a factor, he said. But really it's going to come down to, getting yourself out there far enough to shot shape and put yourself in position to putt. The greens are very different from East Coast greens and Florida greens. It's a different type of grass. There are some players historically who don't necessarily play as much of the California events and the West Coast events. But there are a lot of players in the field, if you're looking at the odds lists, that are from California and have some experience playing those courses. So it's really going to come down to style and guys that are historically put it out and are safe, hit a lot of fairways in regulation and greens in reg. Those are the guys that are going to give themselves the best chance to at least keep it under par. I really think that it's the people that are more like they could shoot 10 under or 10 over. Those are the guys I'm going to stay away from. I'm going to kind of go with the guys that might just go out and shoot 1 under, might 2 under on Friday, maybe 1 under on, the guys that are consistently, their margin of error is smaller because they're more consistent. They can make their par on the tough hole and move on to the next one. Those are the kinds of guys I'm looking at for this week.
Yeah, it makes some sense. And I want to start with some of the big names here. I think we start with our feuding pair here of Bryson and Brooks. And I feel like of the two, they've won 3 of the past 4 Opens. Based on the way you were describing, I feel like Brooks is a better shot here than Bryson does. I feel like Bryson's gains a little more high variance for the course. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm done picking against Brooks. I have, anytime it's a major, I'm picking, I'm going high on Brooks Koepka. Haven't just seen enough consistency really with Bryson lately to feel as strong as I do with Brooks. I mean, Brooks is a guy that every time I'm just like, man, he really hasn't been playing that well or this and that. He gets up for these big events, right? I mean, we see it all the time. He won't have as much consistency and he's not like finishing in the top 10, but boom, it's a big important event. And there's Brooks at the top of the leaderboard. So feel very strongly that I think I've called it the right time on him.
Yeah, it's a good one to watch here. Another one to watch here, obviously, Phil Mickelson, because the historic PGA win, oldest man ever to win a major. And then he's come awfully close to his Open. He's finished second here 6 times over the years. So, that's the one he needs to get the career Grand Slam. Do you think he's got a shot here? You feel like he had his best, his magic card right at the PGA?
So if you were looking at kind of all the factors behind somebody that's due for a big finish, he's played great in recent months. He's from the area. He knows the course extremely well. This is basically like a home event for him. While he doesn't have historically great finishes in playing the course in recent tour history, doesn't that kind of make you feel like he's due for a big finish? He's having a lot of fun playing golf right now. Like when I watch Phil play golf, he seems really happy. And I think it's great for the game. He's bringing in a lot of like Phil fans back out there, and people are enjoying golf, being outdoors, coming to the event, yelling, "Go Phil!" Why not? Why not ride the Phil train at the moment and just hope that he does extremely well and he can finish off what's an amazing career. So very much high on Phil as well. We're going to get into this. I'm having a really hard time finding like a true favorite coming into the event. So why not just go with your gut and take some of the bigger names and say, it's anybody's game this time. It's not like, this is a week or, Rory's won the last, 2 out of the last 4 events. He's the hot hand coming in. I really with Rahm's situation at Memorial, I think it really opens up for anyone's to be a favorite.
Yeah, another guy under the radar here. If he's been playing better of late, he was a big deal back in 15. He was winning a bunch of majors and he lost the game for a bit. Jordan Spieth, what do you think about him this week?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's game is perfect for this. It's going to come down to putting, um, as it always does for Jordan, and he's really figured out the driver and his shot shaping with his irons. I mean, I don't know if anybody's been watching, but whenever they do whenever the camera crew and the audio folks that are out, the media team on the course catches him talking to Michael Greller, his caddy, it's kind of fun to listen in. He's so scientific about a lot of the things. He's so dialed into the exact number and the shot shape. And it's fun to see old Jordan back. And it seems like he's also having fun. So once again, hard to say to pick against to Jordan as well. I'm sorry, I can't give you more of a hot take here, but those three guys are really the ones that, right now, I think that you could not be wrong if as saying that's your pick. I think he's due. I think he's ready for the stage. I think he's had some bad experiences with the U.S. Open, and I think he's ready to get back at it. And I wouldn't be shocked to see a leaderboard that has him at like 2-3 under, and he's right in the mix.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting play there. I think also this is also been prior to, I'd say, the Brooks era, where he was made himself have constant presence on top of the leaderboard. This is because this is the major where somebody who basically is really unheralded would come out because it's such a tough setup to play. You have to be really on your game to win. You get these unheralded guys to win. Who are some under the radar candidates you think could have good weekends at Torrey Pines?
Yeah, more of the names that I feel like we've been seeing in these big tournaments, more seasoned players, Louis Oosthuizen, guys like Justin Rose. My dad really likes Webb Simpson. He was talking about it, but those kinds of guys that are consistent, they might not come out and shoot 9 under in a round like a Dustin Johnson. They don't have the game necessarily for that, but they can consistently shoot 2-3 under for 3 days, and boom, they're at 9 under going into Sunday, and that's enough to win. So guys like that are interesting to me. Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, some of the younger guys that have game that fit that way, I think that they're very much in the mix as well. I have a hard time choosing kind of a really lesser known name. I'm pretty certain that with the guys that are in the field, with where with where Torrey Pines is kind of and where people have been recently playing, I think the guys have been really focused on, I've got, Torrey Pines coming. Let me get my game in shape for this. I think guys are going to come in realizing that, Tiger's not in the field. It's really anybody's game. So I think that you're going to get some big names in the top 10.
Yeah. So if we were right now, say Dan's picks to win who are your top handful guys? Maybe those three you mentioned earlier, the Phil, Brooks, Spieth trio. Add some.
I would go. You're right. I think I'll give you 3 and my sleeper. I'll say Brooks, Jordan, Xander Schauffele, and Louis Oosthuizen as my sleeper.